talk today about restoring spiritual material balance to your life and to our world. So the expansive teachings are all about restoring spiritual material balance, uniting the spiritual and the material again, instead of the common split that we have in our culture. In spiritual circles, many times there's a value of the spiritual and disregard to the material as here today, gone tomorrow, into the landfill, has no value except for our bodily functions and whatever we need to do to pay bills and get in our car from one place to another. But it has no sacred value. In the general culture, we've just split the spiritual from the material. We don't see the material as sacred, and we see the spiritual as something to attain, to arrive at, something sublime to strive towards, but the two are not connected. So people go on retreats to have a spiritual experience and then come back to a very material life. And where do we restore this balance between the two? Where is the unity between the two? So the premise of the expansive teachings is that both the spiritual dimension of your life and the material dimension of your life are sacred. Both are an expression of the divine, of source, of the light, of God. However you want to call this force that creates universes, that creates worlds. And both have this expansive quality to them that we're all kind of looking for, because when we are in this expansive state, that's when we feel love and connection and wholeness and fulfillment and part of something larger, and we feel meaning and purpose. So we're all looking for this expansive quality. That's why we meditate, and that's why we spend time in nature, and that's why we connect with other people, to have this expansive feeling that feels so good to us. And so we know that when we do something spiritual or have a spiritual experience, if we meditate and are actually having an expansive experience, that we experience more inner peace, or we experience bliss. So we feel this expansiveness and the qualities and the feelings that come together with it. It's harder to see in the material world, where the governing law is separation and the matter is so dense. So we forget often the connection between the material and the spiritual, but the material is just as much an expression of the spiritual reality. Either the wonder of nature, the creation, the material creation of nature, is spectacular and wondrous and miraculous. And everything that we've created as human beings, that's an expression of our spirit. So anything that you engage with, your work, your relationships, it's all expressions of your spirit. So that is as sacred as a tree. You are a tree, and the fruit that you bear are your interactions and your choices and the actions you make, the decisions, and the results are all like a tree, the leaves, the trunk, and the fruit that you bear. So restoring spiritual material balance to your life is not about valuing one over the other, but uniting the two and seeing the value and the sacredness and the divinity in both of them and in all of your life. So if you're more materially oriented, but you're searching for meaning and purpose, it's not about giving up your material life. It's by bringing spiritual principles and spiritual qualities that you have access to like anyone else, that you bring them into your material living, and you uplift it by doing so. You uplift your life and fulfill your life and restore this balance and unity between the spiritual aspect of your life and the material aspect of your life. And if you are more spiritually inclined and are on a conscious spiritual journey, but feel less grounded because you value the spiritual and neglect the material aspects of your life, it's not about valuing the spiritual over the material. It's about uniting them and seeing the sacredness in your material living, in the money you earn, in the home you live, in the relationships you have, in the work you do in the world. It's about uniting them both and seeing the sacredness in them both. So what does this look like through the expansive lens, through the expansive teachings lens. So walking and living the expansive path means, for example, that your life purpose has a spiritual essence and it has material expressions, and that you become aware of what that spiritual essence is, and you lead your life in all areas of your life, professional and personal, from that essence, but that you express this essence in everything material, physical you interact with and engage with. It means that your home is not just a material or physical dwelling that you sleep in or that you cook in or that you rest on the weekend. It's a place that holds all of you, who you have become, who you are today, and whatever objects you have in the home that serve you to be who you are today, or that have brought you to who you have become today. Memories in books and images and objects. And so valuing all of these as a sacred part of your journey, of who you have become and who you are today, this is uniting the spiritual and the material and not splitting them. And so what does this look like in our relationships? So for example, with our parents, if we need to make peace with them, it means looking at the spiritual gifts, the spiritual energy in the form of gifts that were passed on to us from our biological parents. Even if we disagree with how they've expressed themselves in their life and we want to separate from that, but we're blocking ourselves from our own gifts when we block ourselves from our parents. So it's embracing the spiritual aspect of our parents and allowing that flow of stream to come through us when we express ourselves in all areas of our life in the world. So you see, it's about uniting the two, creating a current that can flow from the spiritual to the material, so that we see the spiritual for what it is, and that we allow that spiritual to come through in everything material, our interactions and the objects in our home and our calling and our wealth and our health. In everything, we have the spiritual capacity to be a portal or a bridge between the spiritual, the imaginal, the creative, the visionary, and then with our material physical capacities to create it, to manifest it, bring it into realization in our material world. We are this bridge. So it is about uniting the two and seeing our spiritual capacities and then seeing our material capacities, which is the sacred capacity to express our spirit and to appreciate other people's spirit and expression. Our hands, our ears, our feet, our sense of smell, our eyes are all these sacred senses, sacred capacities to express the spiritual realm. That's the true unity of spirit and matter. That's how we restore spiritual material balance to your life and our world. So how are you going to restore spiritual material balance in your life? Are you more inclined to value the spiritual or the material? What do you need to rebalance in order to unite the two in your life and in your work, in your relationships and in your self-expression? Leave a comment below. I'd love to engage with you and hear about your process, your growth, your insights from what I just shared. Blessings.